Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our council meeting. Before opening the meeting, I have to advise that under clause 91(4) of the Government and Meeting Conduct, local law provides the following. This public meeting is being recorded to improve access to the meeting for our community. The recording will be published and will be retained by Council in accordance with the Council's legal obligations. As a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. I now declare open this meeting of Council. We acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we are meeting. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and to elders from other communities who may be with us today. In the opening prayer, Almighty God, we humbly ask Thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations, so that we may truly preserve the welfare of the people whom we serve. Amen. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Sarah Brindley, who is our new Director of Corporate Services. Welcome, Sarah, and I hope that you'll get to know some of the members of the gallery as we move around the rural towns. Welcome along, and I'm sure that you'll find your stay with us very fruitful. Thank you. All councillors are present. The granting of leave of absence. The recommendation that Councillor Fitzpatrick be granted leave of absence. The actual dates are wrong. It should read the 15th of October to the 18th of October. Would someone like to move? Councillor Curry, Councillor Fuller. Any discussion? With the motion, those in favour? Motion's carried. I did neglect to advise that Brendan McGrath is an apology, as is John Chuck. No citizens of Cherokee. Confirmation of minutes. Move the minutes of the Ordinary Council, 21st of August. To ensure an accurate record of the proceeding. Councillor Russell. Councillor Penn. Any discussion? With the motion, those in favour? Motion is carried. Any conflict of interest disclosures? No conflict of interest disclosures. Move on to councillor reports. Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and colleagues, for this opportunity to speak. In September last year, I took the opportunity to present a report on my first year in the office, and thought this would be an opportunity to take another opportunity to have another conversation and update on where the year's been this year. So post 2017 report, I was deeply shocked to hear the loss of colleague Ruth Amory in early October, but I'm grateful to note that in the budget for this year that we have an acknowledgement of her colourful, albeit brief, presence with the rural city with the establishment of a biannual textile award. In October, we were also lucky enough to be present at the opening for a new wing at Illura, residential aged care, and the opening and closing ceremonies for the 2017 Relay for Life. Uncanny chances in 2018 that I will be chair of this event and co-chair with the rest of the committee is Councillor Fitzpatrick. In addition, during October, we undertook some governance training for our role as trustees of the cemetery, and in October this year, we will be looking more closely at the future as we decide on the master plan and potential options for variations of this. November was highlighted by the 28th Jazz and Blues Festival, my 6th year as a member associated with the festival management. We also welcomed Councillor Fitzpatrick and Mayor Clark retained his role, which ensured continuity and experience. So we're very fortunate to have had his leadership this year. December had so many events, it's impossible to summarise the month, but a highlight will be the launch of a special exhibition at the Visitor Info Centre and also Library Friends and Volunteer Christmas Morning Tea. I was also privileged to MC the New Year's Eve Gala with thousands of residents welcoming in 2018. January and February were reasonably quiet, highlights being the Tarrawingee and Chess Hunt Australia Day celebrations, fitting that we're back here tonight, and the Queen's Baton Relay. March saw a return of the Down by the River with the addition of programming by the Hitch to the Sticks Festival, whilst some elements need readjusting in this process. I see value in the way that families come together on these occasions. I look forward to new ideas and concepts for this in the coming year. The other highlight of March I cannot praise enough was the debut of Same Same, a brilliant short film which explored the way in which students and the variations of their ability are seen by not only themselves but also their families, and I recommend finding that on YouTube. In April we commemorated Anzac Day and I took over Ken's role at the Winton Wetlands Committee of Management, followed by a month of dinners and events in May, including a convention with production and sound engineers and the Chamber of Commerce Business Awards, ending the month with the unveiling of Fran Doig's Hand at Bamunkan Rock. In May, we also adopted our second budget with record spending on roads and capital works. Though the council plan still lacks suggestions from the community, who continue to tell us we don't consult with them enough on these topics. June began with a trip to the King Valley Art Show, where I did purchase my second piece of art and enjoyed the talent of many local artists there. The month ended with a double event that included a forum to explore modern day masculinity and how it interacts with society, followed by a guest speaker visiting Wangaratta to talk about her walk from Melbourne to Canberra in support of refugees. We must as a community grow to be more emotional and more compassionate about the vulnerable people we interact, even if we think they are strong. As the year in review winds around towards tonight, July included a trip to Beachwork with the Young Leaders Panel, a celebration of the outgoing ACAC members at the PAC, Isaiah Firebrace performing for Night Up Week, and we launched the program for the 29th Jazz and Blues Festival coming up in November. Most recently in August and September, we've had tests of resilience and the ongoing sadness brought on by mental health. It was reassuring to see the community come together as recent as last week to tackle the conversation at a screening of The Ripple Effect, and again this coming Friday with the Pucker Up Walk. Aside from this conversation about resilience, I was also fortunate to attend the Sustainable Communities National Summit in Melbourne and take away many ideas as a community we can consider for building a more resilient community in terms of mental health, community wellbeing and the environment. Of my three portfolios, it's perhaps the most understated. We have funding for the sport and rec to the tunes of millions in the last year. Our art and culture elements are beginning to gain momentum in terms of the events attraction strategy and the feasibility study for the new gallery. But it's imperative that we take stock of the environment we live in and reflect on the impact we have, the impact of our waste habits, and the impact of climate change cycle that is no longer just cyclical, but an ongoing issue for us. I hope in my time I see great steps towards food security, better land management, and of course renewables done right, in the right place and for the right reasons. Aside from attendance at these events, I've attended approximately 81 different meetings on behalf of council. I think I've eaten about 19 kilos of sandwiches and cakes and probably travelled around 317 kilometres with the Mayor on adventures around the municipality. Most rewardingly, I've spoken to thousands of terrific local people, and what I've taken on board is that life is precious and sometimes unfortunately short, so focus on the positives and enjoy moments that make you smile. If you want to see change in something, then get involved. We have littered our way to a disgraceful level around the globe, and starting to look local to clean our waterways and natural spaces is more important. It's almost imperative. Rooted engagement, consultation and collaboration will ensure that we are able to achieve great outcomes from the community. However, we need more diligence, more buy-in from the municipality, who consistently tell us that we're missing the mark. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent the rural city. Thank you, Mayor Clark, for all your efforts, and thank you, councillors, for your support and the officers that do great jobs for us.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd like to move the section of that report, please. Councillor Curry and Councillor Tucker. Thank you. There you've got to put up the money. In my last quarterly report to you, I reported on the excitement staff are experienced in respect to the organics plan at Bowser. Amazing what a few weeks of fine weather can do, and what a great job the contractors successful with the civil works tender have done. It is certainly an eye-opener to visit the site now. The first container has arrived and the contents stored securely on site, with the second expected in the next couple of weeks. We're currently on track to be taking our first loads in April of next year. We have rejigged our plans for the outdoor heated pool at the bar. The expressions of interest are in and been assessed, and we're ready to go to tender. Hopefully we could see contractors on site before Christmas. There will be interruptions to current use of the facility over time, but we hope they will be minimal. Regular meetings with users will be held so that they are aware of where we are at with the project. Tenders are out for the reconstruction of Oven Street, King George Gardens, and we've held community consultation in respect of the railway precinct upgrade. Some really great conversations have come out of these discussions. Whilst the Cruise Street extension to the racecourse entrance is almost completed, we're dragging our tail a bit on the bridge over the 3 Mile Creek, but we hope to start this before too long. On Wednesday of last week, I was present for the commencement of the refurbishment of the Sydney for the RSL. They are looking at a finish date of April 17 next year. Priorities for our first year of our rural placemakings have been bedded down, with community meetings held at Ely Upper, Hiller and Glenrowan last week, and Burham and El Dorado on the agenda for the next couple of weeks. Appointments to project officers' positions will allow some of these works to be started fairly soon. I must say I was disappointed with the lack of community representation at the Glenrowan meetings. Either they are happy or have no interest in the improvement of our city. On a positive note, I welcome the appointment of Sarah Brindley to the position of Director Corporate Services, and Marcus Coonan, who has filled the role previously held by Marie Walker in Infrastructure. I've certainly gained confidence with their involvement so far. Most would be aware that Council saw fit to reappoint Brendan McGrath for a further 4 years as our CEO, and I look forward to him leading the city to big things over this time. There is so much taking place in the city, both with our capital works at almost $40 million, the $26.5 million at the hospital, the continued improvements at the racecourse, and the $20 million expansion plan for St Catherine's Hospital. Thompson Street reconstruction is nearly ready for the final seal. Negotiations are occurring in respect of the making of Morgan Road, and we now have an in-house team who have constructed their first road out Springhurst Way. This will be of interest to ascertain whether we can do this work or depend on contractors. A couple of great events that have taken place over the last couple of months. We had the pleasure on Sunday last with my 6 other councillors of hosting the Ovens and Murray Football Netball League's Grand Finals for the first time in 24 years. Whilst we had a bigger crowd at the AFL pre-season match, we could not have wished for a better day to showcase what Wangaratta is all about. I must pay tribute to Kelly Harwood, who following James Vincent's departure stepped up to the plate and did the city proud for the organising of the event. Exceptional performances by Kelly and the team. As I remarked on Sunday, I've never seen the showgrounds looking so well, and to Glenn and his team, I am sure you can get into your own lawns and gardens now that you have shown the world how good you are. Well done to you all. The board of the O&M were ecstatic about the netball courts and the number of people there. Congratulations to Wangaratta Magpies A and B grade netball teams, who together with the Wangaratta Rovers under 18 team were premiership recipients. A great result for our clubs. I'd also like to record my appreciation for the tremendous awards night of Mirror Industries that I and other councillors attended. It was indeed great to see the look on the faces of the award nominations as they stood on stage. I'm sure they must think it marvellous that their board, CEO and senior staff were on a night like this for them to enjoy. Councillor Rees certainly did Elvis proud. As usual, there have been many television interviews as well as radio and newspapers which I have attended to on behalf of the city. Thank you to my fellow councillors for your continued support over this period. My position would be so much harder if you did not give me your support. Thank you all who have filled the gaps in the meeting. Thank you. And I'd like to move reception of the report. Councillor Bustle, Councillor Benton. Put the motion, those in favour, motion carried. Moving on, officers' reports, executive services. 12.1, acting CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this report is all about the Australian federal government's project to run inland freight route up the east coast of Australia, but in particular within Wangaratta. What we're talking about here is double stack containers on very long trains coming through Wangaratta and the impact that has on our stations and bridges and other infrastructure. So at this stage we don't have the formal position of ARTC, and we won't have that probably until mid-November, at which stage we'll be asked to make formal comment. This report is all about having a firm position to be at the table for discussions with ARTC and other authorities, and it gives us a position that we can advocate to various levels of government. So it's a fairly lengthy recommendation, and we do want to make a couple of changes to that recommendation for those who do have written copies. So the recommendation now is 1. Support a formal position on the Tottenham to Albury project, including engage in meaningful consultation with the community and local agencies, maintain the heritage look, feel and character of the stations, create and maintain all ability access from both sides of the railway precincts, including from any existing station buildings to new track locations. Then at the Wangaratta station, maintain dual tracks but move these to the west side of the station. Consider installation of drop tracks for the entire length of works to reduce impact on existing structures. Fill in the created disused line to allow additional open space to be created. Consider the overall impact of pedestrian underpass versus pedestrian bridges. At the Glenrowan station, maintain current location and alignment and level. And at the Springhurst station, consider all access requirements. And the second major dot point is approve officers to respond to ARTC and other government agencies with council's formal position. Thank you.
Questions from the gallery?
Mayor Clark,
Would you please come
sorry.
to the mic? Just your name and other.
Eric Bittner from Wangaratta, from Cafe de Rayla, just on the corner of Norton Street and Cusack. I think it's the time to speak today. Alan Clark, I'm wondering if you could tell me, you mentioned pedestrian access on the rail bridge. Is there any consideration that council will look at a shared bike path over the rail bridge?
So Eric, everything's up in the air at the moment, and literally up in the air, because if the double stacks go through and the railway line's at level, it means the pedestrian bridges, cycle bridges, and they would be shared features, they're going to be about 8 metres in the air, which means there's going to be very long ramps, because ramps have to be certain levels, etc. So if the tracks go through at level, very high, if the other option put forward by ARTC in a meeting today is to go an underpass version, and because the underpass would only be about 3 metres rather than 8 metres, the ramps wouldn't be anywhere near as high, so it'd be far more attractive in that sense. We are asking ARTC to look at dropping the new tracks, which would allow the pedestrian bridges to remain. So that's on the table as well, and that's to preserve the southernmost pedestrian bridge was built in 1888, so it's got some pretty significant heritage there. So we're dropping the tracks to allow that. But one way or other, we're certainly pushing very hard to have really meaningful and useful access right across that rail corridor.
Sure. Is it possible to include in the documents pedestrian and cycle access? And given the effort that council are going to with the railway precinct redevelopment to include cycle paths and shared paths, and the access from the west end and the bridge over the railway station at the Cusack Street side is a major and a potential major thoroughfare.
It's very much on our radar, and we'll be fighting hard. And the whole reason for this recommendation tonight is that we are at the table, so we can have those conversations early enough to make sure we get what we want.
Super, thank you.
Other questions? Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Benton? Councillor Bruce? Councillor Benton?
Yes, Mr Mayor, thanks. I think it's imperative that this is put as a formal situation to relation to ARTC. At times they can be the big brother around here to start directing traffic themselves, and it makes a formal position for the officers and the council. And it's nothing is set in concrete to the community, but we have got everything now listed, and it gives some direction to ARTC and for us to do some advocacy work into making sure this does happen. We've got some formality about it, so I do words that we do support it.
Councillor Bruce?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to Eric, the connectivity between the west and the city centre is super important, especially in that location. Just so happens to be near your business, which is a great thing too. But that's the most important route there. They come from the hospital, they come from the northeastern side there, coming across. So it is super important. We have had a briefing session with a fellow that came and gave some suggestions recently, Charlie Shelley-Gibbison. No probably man better experienced than him to give his advice on what should happen. He's a train driver, has been for 35 years, travels through Wangaratta every day. So to get his advice and his great thoughts on what should happen, and a lot of those thoughts are obviously in the council plan moving forward to hopefully be included and looked at by ARTC, which is a great thing. So I'd like to thank him for devoting his time and his effort and a few plans and that he had drawn. So at the end of the day, council now is in a firm position to continue meeting with ARTC and to put our good case forward. Thank you.
Other councillors? With the motion, those in favour? Motion carried. 13.1, corporate services.
Thank you for the warm welcome as well, Mr Mayor. Evening everyone. So this first report is regarding the instruments of delegation. This report is presented to Council to review the delegation of powers, duties and functions delegated to the Chief Executive Officer and the powers, duties and functions delegated to the members of Council staff, pursuant to Section 98 of the Local Government Act 1989. One thing to note is that council subscribes to a service by a legal firm who support many councils in Victoria and monitor and advise us of any ongoing changes to legislation that we need to use to update these delegations. And as such, the recommendation to council is that the S6 instrument of delegation from council to various positions in the organisational structure be adopted and sealed.
Questions from the floor? No questions from the gallery? Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Bassel? Councillor Benn? Any discussion? Put the motion, those in favour?
Yeah. Mark Curry.
This one?
Ready to go.
I'd just like to say that, from a legal point of view, this has been gone through by legals and it's all above board and everything like that. But something happened quite recently that did question some of the delegations, and not that they were wrong, but a question whether they were in line potentially or could potentially blur the lines between councillors and councillors. Unfortunately, I was away last week and I really haven't had much time to review this. So what I'd ask is, an additional, yes, is that we added an additional point to this motion.
Yeah.
To review this and bring that back to the council. So while we accept that it's here, I'd like to see that we review it, the finance delegation.
Review the instrument of delegation.
Yes.
That's what you want to do?
Yes, correct. Within the next 3 months. Yes. So just
You need 3 months.
yeah. So to review the instruments of delegation within the next 3 months.
Have moved and second, are happy for that to be added?
Can I just confirm whether this is delegations or the financial?
Financial delegations, yeah, it's.
You happy to include that? Any other discussion? No discussion, I'll put the motion, those in favour? Motion's carried. 13.2, carryovers, capital expenditure.
Thank you again. So the purpose of this next report is to authorise council to change the 2018-19 budget for income and expenditure that was budgeted under the year 2017-18 and will now occur in this year 2018-19. The reason for this, so budgets are obviously allocated annually, but unforeseen events can impact the ability of some of the projects to be completed within the expected timelines. So it's not uncommon for there to be a certain amount of allocated funds to be carried over to the next financial year to ensure that we can complete those projects that are ongoing. Here the recommendation is, am I still on? Yeah. The council carries forward the 1.148 million approximately from the 2017-18 capital works budget allocations into the 2018-19 financial year. Secondly, the council reduces capital expenditure in the 2018-19 budget by 315,000 for the capital projects commenced in the 2017-18 financial year. Thirdly, that we increase capital income in the 2018-19 budget for contributions and grant income not received last year of 1.5 million. I'll just add the exact figures, obviously, in the report. And point 4 carries forward 503,000 in net non-recurrent operating expenditure to the 2018-19 financial year.
Questions from the floor? No questions from the floor. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Ford, Councillor Curry. Any discussion? No discussion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. 13.3, the annual report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Annual report is presented to Council to approve in principle the performance statement and financial statements for the 2017-18 year. Council's Audit Advisory Committee have reviewed the statements and recommended them to Council for approval, and an annual report will be prepared and submitted to the Minister for Local Government after Council approval has occurred. The recommendation to Council is to approve the 2017-18 statements and governance and management checklist and authorise the Mayor and Deputy Mayor to certify the documents.
Someone like any questions? None from the gallery? No questions from the gallery. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Benson, Councillor Rowe. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
No discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Community wellbeing. Mr. Forster.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report entitled Wangaratta Indoor Sports and Aquatic Centre 24/7 access. This report is presented to Council to seek approval to action a proposal from Council's Health and Aquatic Centre management partner, YMCA Victoria, to upgrade portions of the Wangaratta Indoor Sports and Aquatic Centre to allow 24/7 access to the gym, changing rooms and group fitness rooms. It is proposed to utilise reserve funds from the profits generated under contract 1213/045 for this purpose. The recommendation is that Council transfer the amount of $50,000 from the reserve account established to hold profits generated from contract 1213/045 to an eligible capital projects account in Council's operational budget and progress with the upgrades to the Wangaratta Indoor Sports and Aquatic Centre in order to allow 24/7 access to community fitness facilities.
Questions from the gallery? I'd like to move the recommendation.
Mr Mayor and Councillors, I ask that we actually defer this motion. I don't believe that we have followed due process here and had enough time to investigate and challenge the questions on this. So I ask that we defer till next meeting.
Lay on the table. Someone like to second that? I declare the motion lapsed for want of a seconder. There's a recommendation there, councillors. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Reeves. Have I got a seconder? I'll second the amendment. Second it to allow the vote.
I'll second it.
Huh?
Second
No. Councillor Reeves, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, and thanks Marcus for the good work on that. This, I suppose, is partly an operational matter. We have the money that's been set aside. It's not coming from specifically council. These are retained profits from this organisation, and this money is designed to do works to the Sports and Aquatic Centre. This money will allow these works to be done to make us competitive with other gymnasiums that are chock-a-block at the moment because they're open 24 hours, 7 days a week, where the YMCA is not. And we need that to be competitive and to continue our growth there at the YMCA, which will then earn us more money that will come back into retained profits and then back to the council. Thank you.
if the member would agree, they would adopt the financial agreement that was in 2015 be come back to be reviewed, and for council would tidy this matter up in future allocations of funds for this area. If council reasons
Yes.
prepared to accept it.
Yep, as the mover, I'm happy to accept that, Councillor.
So what's the actual amendment, please?
The amendment will be another $0.3.
Wait a minute. Are we talking an amendment or are we talking?
Mr Mayor, the council has accepted a recommendation or another dot point.
Right.
And what is it?
The dot point will be that the 2015 agreement with YMCA Financial will come back and be reviewed by council.
Within what period of time?
Well, I've got to take direction from the officers. They're going to take and come back, but as soon as possible, I would hope.
The contract with our contract with the YMCA is actually 2013 contract. The 2015 council report, which I think is what you're referring to, was the council report that spoke to how we were going to manage the retention of the profit share into the reserve account. So that's the report you're asking to be reviewed and brought back to a council meeting with an amended recommendation. Okay, so within 3 months.
Yeah, three months.
Is that okay?
As long as it's done within the financial year. And
Thank you. Right. Any further discussion? Councillor Carter.
I'd just like to comment that I do think it concerns me that if we move this motion and follow it, that we actually have not followed due process and we have not given it the time and the consideration that it deserves. If it's coming up to council to vote, then we should have the time to ask the questions in an appropriate amount of time, which has been agreed between council and staff. And I think this would be a slippery slope to start on.
You wish to close it, Councillor Fitzpatrick?
I just want to add that this is going to be fantastic for our community, and not only will it be the first 24/7 YMCA in regional Victoria, this is going to increase more options for individuals and sporting groups and for those who do shift work. And this really promotes and supports healthy body and healthy mind, so I feel that this is great news and we should get on board and do this right away.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Right, Councillor Roy.
But just thinking about and looking for advice from my fellow councillors or senior management team here, could we do a fourth recommendation as well, that council review within a fortnight the expenditure of this money in accordance with what Councillor Curry was indicating, to review it quickly before the money is handed out and the jobs are in?
No, I won't accept that.
All right.
There's a motion before the chair.
That was a recommendation to that motion, an extra recommendation, but you're not happy as the mayor to accept that. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not happy to accept that we asked the staff to give it something within a fortnight.
Only on the financial side.
We've certainly got plenty of financial evidence that we can present to you in a briefing about the details of what's been proposed, including quotes. The money is not to be handed to the YMCA. We will manage the upgrades internally, council officers, so just want to correct that we're actually going to do this project. We're not having the YMCA do it.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. You want to call it a division, please? The division's been called. Those in favour? Councillor Fitzpatrick, Fuller, Reeves, Russell and Benton. Those against, Clark and hurry. Thank you. Community wellbeing, 14.1. That's what we've done. Infrastructure services, 15.1. Annual resource.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, this is a really good example, and I can be very cocky about it, but it had nothing to do with it at all, Mr. Mayor, but it's an example of the council working with 5 other councils to actually call tenders together for a fairly major set of work that's done annually, being the council's annual reseal program. The council expected this work to come in at a little over $1 million, and you have the figure in front of you, Mr. Mayor, so I'll let you disclose that, but certainly bulking up and aggregating the expenditure for this tender through a group called Procurement Australia, which is a collaborative purchasing group that's owned by a number of Victorian councils, has proven to be very successful. So the recommendation, Mr. Mayor, is that council award the contract for the reseal program for this particular year to Downer EDI and authorises the CEO to sign and seal the contract documents, and that you disclose, Mr. Mayor, the contract price for this particular tender.
Questions from the gallery? No questions from the gallery. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Buzzell, Councillor Rees. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. The tender price, as you've heard, we expected it to be about $1 million for this 18-19 year of $667,007.42. So quite a saving. Development services. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item tonight is the Environmental Sustainable Design Partnership Project. This is a project that Council has been involved with 7 other councils across Victoria, similar to the one that you've just heard in terms of collaboration amongst councils. This one is really following a state government policy direction around looking at providing more environmentally sustainable design into particularly subdivisions in regional Victoria, and looking at how we can better design the subdivisions to create a more energy efficient environment, and therefore some lower running costs for the houses and the people that live there. This project has been led by Wodonga City Council, and the purpose of tonight is really for Council to endorse the background documents that have been prepared. Some councils have already been out. Wodonga went out last week, and the recommendation tonight is that Council endorse the final version of the ESD Subdivision in Regional Victoria report for public exhibition, invites public submissions regarding the implementation of the ESD Subdivision in Regional Victoria report up until the close of business 26th of October 2018. If any submissions are received, a further report detailing the recommended actions be presented to the next available ordinary council meeting with a view to adopt the ESD Subdivision in Regional Victoria report, and if no submissions are received, resolves to adopt the ESD Subdivision in Regional Victoria report.
Questions from the gallery? No questions from the gallery. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Fuller. The second, Councillor Rees. Any discussion? Councillor Rees.
This is a great idea for new subdivisions, etc. Moving forward, this will obviously working in collaboration with other municipal areas. The only thing that does concern me with all these new designs and new changes, etc., it makes land a hell of a lot dearer normally to subdivide with all these extra cost factors going in. So I hope that during this consultation period that the Department are mindful of costings which then can hamper subdivisions because people physically can't afford to do them.
Councillor Madden.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. In supporting what Councillor Rees said, the intent of the whole document is all right. However, I do fear, building down the track, how this thing might get used in a non-productive way. I'm amazed though, it's 400 pages, this document. People can put it out for public consultation. I'll be very surprised if we get anyone to respond. And I know there's a lot of work being done on it, and I hope it is used in the proper manner and it doesn't convolute development in the future. That's all I'd like to say, Mr Mayor, but I do wish that these things could be a lot shorter and a lot more concise than 400 pages. I think everybody would be on the same page.
Yes, Paul, do you wish to close the debate? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion's carried. 16.2.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 16.2 is an application for subdivision for a 42 lot subdivision and removal of native vegetation. The application is at 566 Wangaratta Yarrawonga Road and proposes 42 lots, 41 lots of which are in a low density residential zone and one balanced lot, which is a large one, which is in a farming zone. The application was formally advertised in May 2018 and to date 10 objections have been received. The report is presented to Council tonight due to the number of submissions that have been received in accordance with Council's delegation. As stated previously, the residential lots will predominantly be the low density residential size between 4,000 square metres and 4,600 square metres, with three larger lots being lots 31 to 33 backing onto the 3 Mile Creek, where there is a portion of inundation due to the close proximity to the waterway, and they're of a size of 5,000 to 6,000 square metres, and then the residual lot, which is 62 hectares, which is in a totally separate zone. The issues that have been raised throughout the public consultation, there's been some concern about the existing drainage in the area, and Council's undertaken some significant background work in relation to developing the what's termed the Waldara low density residential amendment that was done, and some development plan overlays. So a lot of those areas will be addressed through some future upgrades to drainage in the area. There's some concerns about the impact of the new development on that existing drainage and the existing drainage network. Concerns regarding some traffic and the amount of traffic. That the proposal is that the existing entrance off Yarrawonga Wangaratta Road into Wonga Park Drive has been designed, and Vic Roads have also commented on the application that the entrance is capable of the additional lots without any further access onto Yarrawonga Wangaratta Road, where we have a number of access points already. And there was a request from the locals in Wonga Park for a local park, and as part of the application that was also considered by our recreation team, who have considered that there is some regional parks and local parks within close proximity of this development, and also by its nature, the fact that the lots are 4,000 square metres, there is ample space within each lot for some recreation to occur on those lots. The recommendation tonight is that Council resolves to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit with respect to planning permit application 17/195 for a 42 lot subdivision and removal of native vegetation, 566 Wangaratta Yarrawonga Road, Waldara, in accordance with the permit conditions that are contained within the attachment 1. And number 2, that we advise the applicant and all submitters of Council's decision.
Questions from the floor? No questions from the floor? And I'd like to move the recommendation. Good. Councillor Rees, Councillor Curran. Any discussion? Councillor Rees.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to be, we're always at Council, and I award our planning department here, they always have to be mindful of the objectives, and there has been 10 probably in a subdivision that where this existing subdivision starts from is probably most of the neighbours in that street, and I congratulate the planning department for being mindful of these people in there with their objections. The subdivider or the landowner that's doing this work it's a great thing to see. He can obviously see potential in Wangaratta and that Wangaratta is growing, and we are limiting, or we are short on these type of land subdivisions at the moment. There's not a lot of 1 acre blocks around for sale. This will be a stage subdivision. So as a stage subdivision, there might be a release of 10 or 15 blocks in the first stage, and this will take a number of years to complete. Hopefully, the lesser in the amount of years, which means that Wangaratta is growing extremely quickly. So the recent employment of a lot of good planning staff in our office there has certainly changed our planning department around, helped along with Barry there with the appointment of good people. Be mindful, everybody here, that we have a desire and a power to deliver solutions to the challenges that have helped our growth in Wangaratta. We're making this with our positive planning department. We're making the most of opportunities put in front of us. People will often forget what we say, but remember what we do. So we were doing good things for Wangaratta. Thank you.
Councillors? I'll put the motion, those in favour. Motion to carry. 16.3, tourism events grants program.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is presented to Council to provide a summary of the 2018-19 Tourism Events Funding Program. This is a program that Council runs every year. In this particular instance, Council received 11 applications with a total funding request of $40,500. The applications have an estimated economic value of approximately $3.6 million. The allocated funding available for this program in 2018-19 is $27,000. So as part of the process, there's an assessment panel, of which Councillor Bussell was on the assessment panel, to undertake the rigorous assessment of all of the applications with a recommendation tonight that 9 of the events be funded with a total of $22,875,000. The balance of the funds be kept for future event opportunities that may be presented throughout the year. The objectives of this particular funding program is really to maximise the economic and community benefits, provide some significant branding and marketing opportunities for the region, substantially build the profile of events and attract visitors from outside of the rural city of Wangaratta, and promote tourism product strengths of the rural city of Wangaratta. So some of the attributes of some of the applications were that they didn't adequately address some of the issues about how they were going to attract visitors from outside. They were very much inwardly focused. So the recommendation tonight is that Council approves the allocation of the total of $22,875,000 to fund the following events as part of the 2018-19 Tourism Events Funding Program. I won't go through each one, but they're listed there. I'll simply name the names: the Glenrowan Vignerons Association, the Malt Shed Brewery, Wangaratta Textiles, Creative Collectives Australia. I'm not even going to pronounce that last one, unless anyone... Baguigi. Creek Landcare, Moyu Action Group, King Valley Tourism, Gold Rush Ballooning, and Millawa Gourmet Region, and the early Holden Club. The last two were the two that were not proposed to be allocated any funding.
Questions from the floor? I'd like to move the recommendation. Councillor Bussell. Councillor Fuller. You wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Tourism in the rural city of Wangaratta is one of the rivers of trade to the outside world. In order to grow a municipality, we need new money, and this is why these grants help kickstart the ideas. We had 11 grants, as Barry said, grant applications, which we have funded 9 worth $22,875, with an economic value of over $3 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. We also fund the world-renowned King Valley La Dolce Vita Festival to the value of $5,000 each year. These applications were carefully and respectfully looked over by Janine Rolls and Kelly Harwood and myself. And I would like Barry to pass on my thanks to those staff for their professional work. This municipality is a hidden treasure for visitors, and we need to keep going with improving the look of our small towns to keep driving our economy. but I would like to see a review of this grant program this year to make it even better and more effective. So I ask my fellow councillors to support the recommendation. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? The motion, those in favour? Motion's carried. 16.4, planning application.
16.4 is a planning application for use and development of an extractive industry at Lot 1 Diffie Road, Everton. The application seeks planning approval for the use and development of land at Lot 1 Diffie Road for the purpose of extracting stone for road construction purposes. The application, as required by the planning scheme, is supported by an endorsed works authority from the Department of Economic Development, Jobs, Transport and Resources. The proposal will include some crushing activities of material primarily used for road construction purposes. Extraction will be via mechanical means through bulldozers and excavators, with some blasting to be undertaken on the site when rock conditions may reduce the ability for mechanical methods. It's estimated there would be between 2 to 3 blasts per year. The application was formally advertised in April 2018. 4 objections have been received, and as per Council's delegation, that's the reason it comes before Council tonight. Community consultation exercise was undertaken as part of the Works Authority process by Digitar and was also undertaken through Council's planning permit process. The recommendation tonight is that Council resolves to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit with respect to planning application 18/039 for the use and development of land for an extractive industry stone at Lot 1 PS 32981 Diffie Road, Everton, in accordance with the draft permit conditions contained in the attachments, and advises the applicant and submitters of Council's decision.
Questions from the floor? No questions from the floor. Someone like to read the recommendation? Councillor Reid, Councillor Bank. Any discussion? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been out and inspected this site with the Mayor and driven up over it, and it was a very harrowing time getting in there, I can tell you that. But we've been briefed on it well through our through Mr. Green. I was going to call him Mr. Benton then, but no. Mr. Green, we've been briefed on it very well, so thank you for that. The planning department has also put in conditions that make this more, which helps the objectives. That we did have some objection there in relation to it, but the conditions put on, I think, should satisfy most people there in relation to truck access in and out and the roads use. So thank you to the planning department for a good job in their recommendations.
Any other councillors? Councillor Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I acknowledge the objections to this project. However, I said when I came to council that I wanted to see economic development, and you can't do economic development without raw materials. And so I think this is a good project, and it's even better that it's a local farmers doing it, because I love to see extra revenue come into the farming community. So I urge my fellow councillors to support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion carried. Advisory committee reports. How you doing?
So thanks, Mr. Mayor. This report is just to acknowledge the great work that's done with our advisory committees. There's minutes to 3 meetings attached: the Agriculture and Agribusiness Advisory Committee, the Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee, and the Sport and Recreation Advisory Committee. And the recommendation is that Council notes the minutes of these committees.
Any questions from the gallery? I'd like to move the recommendation. Councillor Curry, Councillor Fuller. Any discussion?
I would just like to thank the teams that are involved in putting together these agendas and setting up these meetings. We have volunteers that come in for these sessions. We might not always discuss a lot, but what we do is always ensure that we're getting advice, and in the future it's good to see that we're going to be getting more advice up from our community members.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion carried. 19. Records of assemblies and councils.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, in the attachments, there's 9 Assembly of Councillors recorded in the agenda, and the recommendation is simply that Council receives the reports of the Assemblies of Councillors.
Any questions from the gallery? I'd like to move the recommendation. Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Curry. Any discussion? Put the motion. Those in favour? Motion carried. No notice of the motion. There's no urgent business. Public question time. Mr. Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question relates to emergency water for livestock. We're coming into we are in a very dry period at the moment, and I know there is odd bores around, but in this particular area where we are, there's nothing. Back in 2009, we did have a pumping unit set up on Eldorado Dredge, and I think we had one on Ovens River. My question is, does council still own those pumping units? If they do, are they fit to use again? And would they consider using them in the future if there's going to be no rain?
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Can you answer that?
I can answer to the extent that I can say I'm not sure whether we still own those units. Are you sure they are council-owned units?
I'm positive they are council-owned units.
Okay, we'll have to investigate that and get back to you. I know we've got the drought bores, which have got special licence conditions, etc. But we'll have to investigate the pump units themselves.
Do you know what they are?
I don't.
But Art Bennett from Tarrawingee. I was on that drought committee at the time when they were acquired. I can't guarantee whether it was totally council owned or not, but I do know that they were, for some reason or somehow or another, they were passed over to one of the service clubs, whether it's Lions or Apex or somebody, and that's where they were stored for future use. So if you check up with those bodies first, you may come across them.
Right, thanks. I assume these are a trailer-mounted pump setup. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's on a trailer, and it's got all the hoses and pipes, and it's quite lockable. They could put fuel in it and lock it up so nobody could do any damage to them. We just have the water in the river and start it with a button. They are damn good units, so I hope we haven't lost them.
We'll check it out.
Thank you. Other questions? Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, Phil Larkin from the More You Action Group. I'd like to thank you for the grant we got on the Easter escape. Real good. The question is to planning. King Valley District Plan, which was set out 3 or 4 months ago. It says undertake a township development plan for the township of More You to be completed within 1 year. We're now 3 months into it, and part of the More You Action Group, we have not heard one single thing. What's your update on that?
Thanks, Bill, for the question. That project certainly has been commenced, and all of the background documentation put together by Megan Kelly, and she did some work in conjunction with the work that was done out of the township work, the placemaking work, and that will be rolled out very shortly in terms of that. So that all of the background work's been done. There's a draft brief in terms of background paper that's already been prepared, and now it's ready to be coming out and speaking to the community. So it's actually being done in-house.
Other questions? Mr. Fox.
Brian Fox. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Mayor, this evening I'd like to ask your indulgence. You owe me one. I gave you a written question which you didn't read out. So tonight I'm asking your indulgence to have 3 questions. So
Mr. Fox, I did ring you and apologise for not bringing that up at the last.
Yeah, and I appreciate the apology, and it was accepted. So now we'll get a bit of reality about it. Mr. Mayor, my first question relates to the number 2 car park. And most of you have a copy of this, and I'll read out my question. The condition of the number 2 car park surface and the 24-hour storage of rubbish bins, this is shameful and unacceptable in our fair city. I ask that this be attended to before any works take place in the Oven Street King George Garden area. I contend it is unreasonable to create more infrastructure while the number 2 car park is in such a perilous state. And when I mean perilous, you could plant potatoes in it. I am well aware that this will bring moans and groans from some councillors and staff when hearing again about the rubbish bins in the car park. I make no apologies whatsoever for bringing this matter to your attention, as I will keep on doing so until the car park is brought up to a reasonable standard. So, Mr. Mayor, my real question is, will the car park be fixed before we create any more infrastructure as in Oven Street?
The answer to that is possibly no. Not sure when we have the number 2 car park resealing scheduled. Clark might be able to tell us.
So we're doing the design work this financial year, and we're working with all the property owners there. The survey's been completed. We're working with North East Water. They're going to get us to replace the water main underneath the car park before we resurface it. The intention is that that's done next financial year, but that of course will be subject to the council including within the budget. But design work's all but done.
I thank you, Alan, for your explanation. However, it doesn't help me at all.
Just before you go on there, Mr. Fox, could all the bins there, are they the property owners' bins? They're not council, they're council bins, but they're the property owners leave their bins out there and throw stuff all through them. Is that the situation with that?
That's what I'm talking about, but they are on public property.
Yes, so how do we, what's our solution rather than the problem, to get the owners to put them back on their own properties? The people that rent your bakery, do they leave their bins out there?
I think the solution of the problem, Councillor Rees, is very simple. All we need is some large letters who owns the bins. Now, nobody knows who owns them, and everybody uses everybody else's bin. It's not hard. It just needs an initiative by council.
Thank you.
And if you see that photograph there, you'll see the pile of rubbish behind the bin. Now, you will remember, some 8 or 10 months ago, it got so bad that I took 6 bags of rubbish out of the car park in my car to the tip. And now it's all happening again. Thank you.
Director Green, I think we did do some compliance with these owners in July, if I'm correct, because I know they contacted us regarding some of the outcomes where their bins were going in that. I think that's my memory.
It was only where their bins were being dumped, picked up on the truck, more so than...
That's correct. We did do some compliance, and that was predominantly along Victoria Lane, where the bins were being left out in excess of 24 hours on the footpath areas and obstructing footpath pedestrian access along there. This area is up in the car park behind the fences.
Thank you. My number
Thank you,
two.
Mr. Fox.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Thank you. My number two question, Mr. Mayor, relates to the communication between executive staff and the general community. It is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know this is a bit tenuous, but bring it out in the open, that at present, the only senior executive staff member who lives in the rural city of Wangaratta.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. We cannot dictate where people live.
I'm not asking you to, Mr. Mayor, I'm offering you a solution. I haven't got that far. As a solution to this less than ideal situation, I'm asking that council officers and councillors confer with the intention of having the reserved car parks for senior staff located in the multi-storey car park. And then that will give the senior staff the opportunity to walk 1 block to work, where they will no doubt come across some of the ratepayers and citizens. The second benefit is, by staff taking this initiative, will encourage other staff and even councillors to park in the multi-storey car park. On the communications front, Mr. Mayor, and I thank you for your patience, I would like to see executive staff do a shift behind the front counter once a week, maybe for 2 or 3 hours. I'm sure this would be appreciated by the staff and customers alike. But what we've got now is not working, and it's time to change. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Fox. I definitely fall into that category. I'm new to Australia, never mind, new to the area, and I live in Bright. With my customer hat on, I want to reassure you a few things that I've started doing with my team to address some of those points you've raised. I myself have signed up to do a shift on the front desk already with my customer services team, and that's something we've reached out to the staff in the organisation as well. That's in progress for some of that to happen. I've obviously been here 2 weeks now, but I'm making the time to make sure initially I get out to all of the council facilities and see all of those firsthand and speak to the community users of those facilities firsthand. And in due course, I really look forward to engaging with the rest of the community and seeing people out and about in the town to hear what everyone has to say, what we're looking to council to deliver for them, and any areas we can improve, and take your comments to heart.
I thank you very much. Just a further word, Mr. Mayor. If you live out of town, it almost precludes you from belonging to committees within town. Because who's going to knock off at 5:30 and then come back at 8 o'clock for the whatever committee meeting? So I just think that we need not to tell people where to live. We need to devise a community relationship. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that question. And this is my charitable one. Sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to answer with that question. You know very well that where I live, and you used to live there too, and I seem to be able to get into all the committee meetings that they needed to be done in Wangaratta, most of them. They don't get to all the functions of the city, but the city does extend from nearly down to Yarrawonga, to the gap up here and down into Mafra. So Wangaratta just doesn't end in Murphy Street, Mr. Fox.
Springhurst is not that far away. Anyway, thank you for your comment. Mr. Mayor, I believe that the citizens of Wangaratta are entitled to a full and detailed explanation as to why we would borrow $5 million, and anybody can correct me with the numbers, that's fine with me, in addition to the government grant to build a swimming pool to cater for a swimming club of less than 100 members. I find this quite astounding. I would be delighted if someone would kindly correct me on these numbers, and I find that the swimming club has many more numbers. Mr Mayor, councillors and administration staff alike, this amount of money reminds me of the statement by Sir Winston Churchill, who said something like, "Never has so much been owed by so many to so few." In this instance, I believe, never has so much money been spent by so many for the benefit of so few. It is my understanding that there are 500 young lady members of netball clubs in Wangaratta. Then, if you add the soccer, baseball, Australian youth football, hockey, etc., you would be approaching 2,000 young people playing sport. And the numbers perhaps go beyond that. Mr Mayor, I believe a written, detailed and objective analysis of the expenditure should be made available to the public within days of this meeting. And if that's not possible, the project should be cancelled forthwith. I thank you.
Mr Forster, would you like to answer that?
Thank you for your question, Mr Fox. Swimming is the third most popular form of recreation, both in the rural city of Wangaratta, from the evidence gathered from our last community survey around how people conduct recreation. It is also the third most popular form of recreation in the state of Victoria, and the third most popular form of recreation in the nation of Australia. Swimming is not only conducted by members of swimming clubs, but by regular residents of Wangaratta who go down to the pool to swim laps for fitness. It's also, the pools are used for aquatic therapy and aquatic recreation and aqua aerobics multiple times a day, every day during the week. Swimming is also a summer recreational activity that people conduct. And it's also used for injury recovery and for active ageing. So it is, as I said, the third most popular form of recreation. It's not just for the swimming club. It is true that we also expend a lot of effort reaching out for grants for our other clubs, like the soccer club and the hockey club, and I'll point you to the recent installation of lights at Acton Park, specifically for the hockey club. So it's not, I wouldn't want anyone to think that we were ignoring our other sporting clubs with the aquatics plan. Our aquatics plan aims to provide aquatic facilities, sustainable aquatic facilities, both for our use now, but also for the next 50 years.
Thank you. If I can reply to that, Mr Mayor. My understanding, Marcus, is we are not building a recreational pool. We are building a competition pool. And if you're less than 1.3 metres tall, you won't be able to use it unless you're a good swimmer, because you can't stand up in it. It is a 25, 50 metre, whatever, competition swimming pool. It's not a Sunday afternoon, bring the kids and have a swim. And that's what you're talking about, recreational swimming as against competition swimming. And we just should not be doing it. It is not logical. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr Mayor, is it possible to speak on behalf of one of the swimming clubs in Wangaratta, since Mr Fox has had a chance to speak?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, my name is Eric. I'm the treasurer of the Wangaratta Stingray Swim Club. And I'd like to thank the rural city of Wangaratta for putting so much effort into the aquatic strategy and the 50 metre pool and also the hydrotherapy pool. It's really important that the local people know the support of swimming. It's not just for competition, although we are a swimming club, we're an inclusive swimming club. All our people don't have to compete. They're there to learn to swim. We have people of all abilities, multi-class swimmers, so it's not just those that are out for competition. The pool, from my point of view, is used by my mother, my daughter and myself. I know that from a physiotherapy point of view, it's really important. The current hydrotherapy pool is at 28 degrees, but the new one will be at 35 degrees, which will allow lots of rehabilitation from the hospital's point of view, which is absolutely fantastic. Our high schools at the moment are not really engaged in swimming. It is a requirement that they have a swimming component. At the moment, they can't really do it because the pool is not up to standard. So having a 50-metre pool for training from the school's point of view would be absolutely fantastic. And I think I'd like to see Mr. Fox down at the pool in a year and a half, 2 years' time, when our swim club and also the other Wangaratta Swim Club, currently we have around about 100 members at the moment. We started off a year ago, actually just under a year ago, with 0 members. We've now got over 50 members. We're expecting to have over between 80 to 100 members swimming. And that's just in this year. The pool is not built. When the pool is built, we'd love to have 120 members swimming. It's not just the members that are swimming, it's also the parents of the members that are active, which is really important. So whether it's parents swimming or parents going to the gym while their children are swimming, so it's about being active in our community. So again, thanks to the City of Wangaratta for the effort that you put in to get this pool built for us. Thank you.
And just to echo Eric's conversation there, I'm sure that if we had a legal space for them to swim in competitions, we might have more members, and we wouldn't expect our netballers to play on half a court or an illegal size court. So it's only fair that we offer them the same facilities.
One of the greatest swimming things that we have also is I have young children, and a swimming pool is obviously used to teach our kids to swim, which come summertime becomes more important. There has been muted talks by the federal government that all children at primary school need to be able to swim 50 metres. We need this pool.
Can I say something?
I think you've given you a fair go.
Yes, you have, Mr. Mayor, but Councillor Reeves, you've got to get it right. You said that the government wants people to be able to swim 50 metres, but not in an Olympic pool. We've already got a pool that's 50 metres. And if you want to learn to swim, you can learn to swim in that, but you can't, but it's not a competition pool. And one of the considerations of building this outside,
thank you, Mr. Fox,
the outdoor pool, is you close the Swan Street pool.
Thank you.
Well, no, I just want to speak very quickly on 2 subjects. First of all, because of my job some years ago, I swam in every pool in Victoria. Every pool in Victoria. I don't want the idea of the Wangaratta pool being knocked for the future of the kids as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't like to see it. The reason why I came tonight, I just want to make every councillor aware of something that they should be aware of, and that is the curbing and drainage outside St John's. There evidently has been verbal fisticuffs going on for more than 3 years now in regards to this. I'm a committee man of the people in part of St John's, and I just have heard backwards and forwards with the council. And I had quite a number of words about the council, about what went on with the bus stop in Christensen Lane, and I've been watching what's been going on about this curbing, and at 4:45 this afternoon I went and had a look at the car parking in Williams Road outside St John's, and there were 18 cars and 3 of them were on the footpath. Now, it's asking for trouble if you get cars parking on footpaths, and the work that has to be done is minor. They've fixed up the bridge, it's nearly finished. The footpath has to continue on because there's no doubt there's going to be development on further up the road. We won't go into that. And all I would like everybody that's on council to know that there's $300,000 worth of money has gone into the tin from your aunts and your uncles and your grandfathers and your grandmothers who live in St John's to the council fees in the last 3 years. 300,000 has been put in. Now, what they've got back out of it, we no doubt could argue about all night, but I haven't seen much of it. And also St John's Incorporated have all put in money for rates. A lot of people think that non-paying church affiliations in country towns don't have to pay rates. Well, I can give you a list of different country towns where this doesn't happen, but it happens in Wangaratta. Quite happy to pay the rates if you get something for your rates. If you pay rates and you don't get anything for it, you can complain. And I'm complaining on behalf of 270 odd people in one half and perhaps 160, 170 on the other half. When they go out there, there's cars all over the place. And it can be stopped by putting curbing in between the bus stop and the bus stop. It's not a huge job, and to fix up the footpath. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm well aware of what you're talking about, where and the problem. We had this up as a project in this year's budget and didn't quite get the funding, but we did get the funding to do the design work, so it'll be ready to put to the budget process again in the next few months, and the design work's been completed to hopefully see that happen on the ground next financial year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I have a speaking day, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor? Nothing to do with swimming pools or this is to do with abandoned cars that are on our roadsides. Unfortunately, in the last 2 months, I got one sitting in Petticoat Lane there. It's been there a month, I think it is. And it's right in front of some gateways that are going to make it very hard to get stock in and out. The police have been there, taken a number of blokes off it, got their bit of tape over it and that. They said they were going to shift it. I haven't seen sight nor sign of anybody to shift it. Now, there's been one down there in the Bowser Wangaratta Road that was on the side of the road. It's been pulled around in the Burke Road. It just so happens I've been carting silage through there in my own truck here lately, and I've been meeting some trucks that I believe have been carting dirt either in or out of the city tip there, and I struck one of them right on that intersection, and where they pulled it. I don't know who pulled it around there, but they would have had more sense, because it's right in the road, and who's responsible for these abandoned cars, and who's going to shift them?
Thank you. Harry, you going to answer that?
Thanks, Ryan, for the question. It does come back to what road they're on and what lane they're on as to who can do it. Normally when the police go out, they will take the number plate, they'll check to verify that it is actually an abandoned vehicle, and they normally arrange to have the vehicles removed. If they don't and we get complaints, we can do the same thing. So if there are specific examples of locations, I'm happy to get our compliance coordinator to go and check them out, and we can arrange, if there's multiple of them, we'll just get a bigger truck.
Well, there's two that I know of.
Any other questions from the gallery? No other questions from the gallery. Thank you all for your attendance and your patience. Thank you very much, and I'll declare the meeting closed. The ladies are going to come to speak right up here.
Thank you.